We've qualified for the World Cup. Go and compete.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. Today we bring you our Premier League Team of the Year and also our disappointing Team of the Year. I'm joined once again by Adrian and Connor. How are you guys doing?
Grand.
Yeah, not too bad. It's not that long since we recorded, so
No.
it seems like we're back too quick or something. I hope we
It's
haven't
true.
run out of chat.
It's true. I think we need an early doors plug. If you haven't listened to it, head over to Spotify to listen to podcast number 9, where myself and Adrian review Istanbul. It was good fun, I must say. I thought it was quite informative.
I thought we did a good job.
I think so too. To kick us off now, I honestly had this revelation on Friday. This might be really well known, but there's people out there that put the milk in the tea first.
Oh yeah, no, I know a lot of people like that. And you know what? It almost makes sense.
Does it?
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
I don't do it because it's associated with Protestants. No, that's what I always heard, that putting milk in the cup first is what Protestants do.
And why'd you say it makes sense?
Well, do you ever like pour too much milk in your tea and it ends up all milky and horrible?
I don't know. I think at like our age now, we should never make a bad cup of tea.
Well, no, it can happen. It can happen to even the best of us. But if you pour in like a drop of milk first and then fill it up with tea until it's the right amount of brown for you, it's better than putting the tea in first and then pouring milk, because the milk is more, it's concentrated. It's a smaller amount. So the margin of error, there's more chance for you to make a mistake. If you pour in just a bit too much, it's too much, and it's ruined. Whereas with tea, because you're pouring in a lot of it, you can, pace yourself better with the color you want from it.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. I don't agree with it, though. I think it's a bit strange.
No, I don't do it either. It's mad.
I quite like milky tea, so it doesn't really apply to me. I've heard it works if you're making instant coffee to put the milk in with the instant coffee and then pour on top. That's never worked out for me, but each to their own.
Yeah, I think it's like a habit at this point now. It's like a ritual. You take the milk out the fridge at the last minute, so you get like optimum coldness. You leave it sat on the side while your tea's brewing. You've got 3-4 minutes of tepid milk. I mean, we can't be having that.
Bottom line, no, I don't do it, and I've never thought to do it.
That's fair. No, I just wanted to know before we
I've done
continue our friendship, I guess.
I'm not proud of it, but I've done it.
It's okay. We'll forgive you, as long as you don't do it more than once. We'll crack on though. We'll take a look at the Team of the Year first. So we decided on, I guess we'll go from goalkeeper, and we'll each give our own and give our thoughts on the reasons for our picks. Will we go alphabetical? I feel that makes more sense. So goalkeeper, Adrian, give us a go.
Maybe it's no surprise, but I've gone for Alisson. I can see you both looking at me. I mean, to be honest, I couldn't really think of a clear, better keeper this season. I think he's been really good. I think he's really important how Liverpool plays. Obviously, I've watched a lot of him, so I know how good he is. I can't think of a clear, obvious error or something that he's made. I mean, the only other one who came close was Ederson, and only recently he had an absolutely shambolic game against Man United. So yeah, I went for Alisson, and I'm happy with that choice.
You think it was the clear choice? Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something I'm missing here?
Well, I mean, he didn't play for half the season, more than half the season.
No, I think he missed 8 weeks or something like that.
You know, normally if someone misses 8 weeks of work, they get fired.
I mean,
he gets team of the season. Anyway,
I still think he's had a brilliant season in what he's played. He missed a bit at the start. And if anything, the games he's missed, you kind of realised how good he is and how important he is to Liverpool. So,
okay.
Yeah, Connor, who do you have?
I chose Arsenal's goalkeeper Bernd Leno.
Get out of here. Go on.
Well, I think we're all probably going to pick the goalkeeper we watched the most. In fact, I suspect Kieran's going to pick Crystal Palace's goalkeeper.
Well, we'll
Maybe.
see.
We'll see. But watching Arsenal every week, I can see how Leno is. With that defense we have, it's embarrassing, really, a lot of the time. And Leno has saved our bacon many, many, many times because he's just under siege the whole game, every game. And he pulls it out of the bag a lot. And he's made a couple of mistakes as well. So he's not perfect, but he's probably been our best player this season. Bit depressing.
No, I think that's fair. I think he has been the best player. He's been impressive this year. I don't know with Arsenal having like their worst defensive season in a long time if he warrants a spot in the team of the year.
You could tell I'm an Arsenal fan when it's like Arsenal's worst ever defensive season, and I picked Arsenal's goalkeeper as goalkeeper of the season.
We'll have David Luiz now as your next pick as well. Spoilers. I picked Dean Henderson for Between the Sticks. I think Sheffield United need to be given credit to be, I know they're 7th now, but they lingered around the European spots for a long time. They've been one of the best, if not the best defences in the league, probably apart from Liverpool, after just being promoted from the Championship. So I know he's on loan from United, but he's been exceptional for Sheffield United. So he's my pick.
He was my second choice. So I think that's he'd make my bench.
He's first sub, yeah?
Yeah. Well, no, probably never sub, but yeah.
What
I think that's
age
a
is
good
he?
shout.
He's at least 18.
Okay. I don't know why you know that.
Well, I don't know his exact age.
Pornhub.
I have 22 in my head, and I have absolutely no idea why.
He should probably be starting for United next season. Manchester United, I mean.
Yeah, it's true. De Gea might be making some of our disappointing team of the years, but
yeah, he's washed.
He's to the left from Madrid.
Send him to the glue factory.
Just some good fact checking. Dean Henderson turned 23 years old on the 12th of March.
There we go.
All right.
I knew it.
That's pretty young for a goalkeeper. So
it is. He's got his prime ahead of him.
Not if it's with United, but maybe.
Which United, though? Adrian, we'll go back to you for defense. Do you want to list out all of your defenders or go one by one?
I was just going to name my defensive line.
Your back line. Okay, cool. Fire away.
So at right back, I have Alexander-Arnold.
Shock.
Another big shock. Central defense, I have Van Dijk.
Cool.
Partnered with Soyuncu from Leicester. And at left back, I have Robertson.
Yeah.
Andy Robertson. So a strong Liverpool flavour in that back line. I think Alexander-Arnold is a pretty obvious choice. I did think of Wan-Bissaka because there is an argument that defensively he's a bit stronger, but I think Alexander-Arnold is kind of a clear favourite there. Van Dijk, do I even have to explain that one?
No.
Okay.
Well, it is a football discussion podcast, so ideally.
Well, he's probably the best defender in Europe.
Okay.
Certainly the Premier League. Soyuncu, I was actually torn between him and Joe Gomez, just because Joe Gomez and Van Dijk have been so good together. But Gomez didn't play for a lot of the season, which Makes me a hypocrite for my Allison point. But anyway, that's my point, okay? And I think it's his first season, I think, really, isn't it, at Leicester? Came in to replace Maguire, did really well. Leicester looked really good up until probably a few weeks ago when indeed he got injured, I think. So I think he's been good. And Robertson, I debated the Robertson thing an awful lot because I don't know if I want to say who my other left-back choice was. Maybe I'll leave it in case it influences you guys. But I did a lot of fact-checking against my other left-back choice and decided to go for Robertson. So if you want me to come back to that, I will.
Perhaps you might have to, but yeah, there wasn't much choice I felt in the left-back role, but we'll move on. Flynn, if you want to run us through your back line.
Okay, well, for my fullbacks, I also picked Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. And centre-back, I picked Van Dijk as well. And David Luiz. No, I picked Johnny Evans. So pretty much the same as Adrian, except I just chose the other Leicester centre-back.
Yeah, no, very fair. I mean, it's very hard to argue.
Yeah.
The mentioned players there.
Well, I couldn't really think of anyone who deserved it more. I don't even think they've been that great. It's just that I couldn't think of anyone else who deserved it more than them.
When I've seen Leicester, like, they have been really good, and it was kind of a toss-up between Soyuncu and Evans for me as well, but I just went for Soyuncu because he's less experienced in the Premier League, so I just gave him that.
I gave it to Evans because it's like a redemption arc for him after being cast off United. And I thought he was terrible. I thought he was a terrible player. Like most United players. But there you go. He proved me wrong.
Well, Evans is one of many United players that since leaving United go on to be, respected players, I should say. We were only talking about it earlier where, Dave, who was with the podcast last time with us, reckons, that he still rates Lukaku. Another player that would probably... Too. Yeah, me too. I think he would bang in goals for like anyone else. Just didn't really work for many players at United, but we'll save the United bashing for later.
Dave can't defend them now.
Yeah, that's it. We'll get him back in another year. He can build up his points. Look, I'll be honest. My backline is the exact same. I went for a 5-3-2 formation, or maybe a 5-2-3, depends what way you view it. But the only addition I had to the backline, apart from Soyuncu, Van Dijk, Robertson, and Trent, is Gary Cahill. A bit of Palace bias coming in, but has been solid. Missed 1 or 2 games, but has been like a rock at the heart of the defence for us. A captain that we haven't had this year, and he's not captain. So I think it says a lot.
I think he's been better than any of Chelsea's centre-backs.
Yeah, because kind of skipping ahead a bit here, but I tried to look at like the teams that have done well or overachieved this season, Chelsea being one of them, considering the transfer ban. There isn't one player that's in my team of the year from them. No one's really stood out. They've just been above average, and that's all it takes now to get a Champions League place, it seems.
Just out of curiosity, the way we made up these teams, I suppose there's no right or wrong way to do it, but did you guys make a team of just the best players that you thought played, or did you try and make it a team that would like win a game?
I just picked the best players.
Yeah, best players too. Like, I'm sure they would still be a great team, though.
I know. I just tried not to put like 4 attacking midfielders in midfield and like 5 strikers. Do you know?
Here we go. Already.
I tried not to.
Jordan Henderson to appear in the year.
Well, if he's not in years, I'm fucking storming off. That's for sure.
Meeting ends.
All right. Am I go so for midfield?
Yeah. Let us know. Let us know your midfield.
All right. I went for 3-man midfield. At the base of that midfield, I went for Captain Jordan Henderson, who's been outstanding, nothing short of outstanding in that role. And I went for 2 in front of him, Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish. Oh, I have to explain that. Sorry. To be honest, I nearly forgot De Bruyne. I picked Jack Grealish and Henderson, and I couldn't think of who else has been amazing. I think Henderson. Look, he's one of the candidates for Player of the Season, so I don't think that needs much explaining. The same with De Bruyne. Jack Grealish, he's probably one I could drop. But I went for him because I think he's the most important player to that Villa team, and imagining him in a better team, I think he could be really, really good. For me, it was kind of between him. Look, I'll be honest. It was between Gini Wijnaldum, but I got rid of him because I thought you'd slate me. Jack Grealish.
Yes, so really would.
Well, I did the right thing, but if you watch him week in, week out, I suppose you could say that about any player. So it was between Grealish and Maddison. And again, I kind of just went for Grealish because he's playing in a worse team, and is more important to the team. So based on that.
Okay.
No, not going to give me no shit.
Well,
I can't because my midfield is the same.
Love it. Great. Exact same.
I actually went with a 4-4-2, so my midfield is De Bruyne, Henderson, Grealish, and Salah. If I'm allowed to have Salah as a midfielder.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
As a winger midfield, okay. I can't really expand on anything you just said other than I bet Tottenham are sickened they didn't pony up the extra 5 million for Jack Grealish and instead spent it on Ndombele. What a waste of fucking money.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And Jack Grealish will move to a big team soon, I think, if Villa go down, which I think, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but I think he'll move to a big team in the summer, depending on what happens with the transfers and stuff, windows.
I'm guessing he saw the whole thing of him like being seen out during the quarantine.
Oh yeah. It's like he was pleading with people to stay home, and then he got caught drunk driving, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know, was he? Did he?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he was getting loads of praise for ditching this bad boy attitude and stuff. And then he goes and does that. Like, what a fucking idiot!
We knew what he was like. We knew.
Maybe Wijnaldum fits in there better, but I'll stick with Grealish for now.
You don't see our boy Jordan Henderson with those kind of antics, do we?
Absolutely not. He's the captain's captain, don't you know? That's what they're saying.
He's tucked up in bed now.
Tucked up in bed.
My midfield, it's a bit of an odd one. It's probably more of a 5-2-3 now that I think of it. So I have two midfielders. KDB is an obvious choice. 8 goals, 18 assists. Probably the player of the year, I think.
That Adrian nearly forgot.
He's easily to forget when he's leading all of the stats in every area. But fantastic player. Probably the player of the year. My other one is it's a bit risky, but I knew we had to mix it up a little bit. Even though he's only played 5 games, Bruno Fernandes finds his way.
Oh my God.
God damn.
You're off your fucking rocker.
Fucking knew someone would do this.
Come on, he's great.
I mean, it's the team of the season so far. So
right.
When he has just played 5 games, I find that a little... He has been really good, but I think there's better midfielders than him.
I don't know. He's probably played the same amount of games as Alisson, so...
No Henderson?
No way. This team is built to win, not to...
This team is built to get pummeled, I hate to tell you, that you've got no midfield.
Don't need it. Trent and Robertson, inverted wingers or wing backs or something.
Bruno Fernandes breaking up the play in the middle of the park.
That's it. Just pinging balls. They won't win a tackle, but they'll just ping balls around the place. Be beautiful.
Before we
they have to get the ball first.
Don't lose it.
I had one and I didn't put him in, and I might make a switch now because I'm not sure what position he plays. Now that sounds a bit stupid, but to me he's defender. But if you look online, he's a midfielder. So maybe
David
we'll decide
Luiz.
this. Lundstrom.
Oh yeah,
He was going to go in to my instead of Sionchu for me as well. But
right. He's not a defender. He's just listed as a defender on fantasy football.
yeah, that's what I felt. Yeah, he's kind of part of that overlapping thing, isn't he?
yeah.
Yeah, I probably
Well,
wouldn't
he's not
ditch him.
even. No, he's not even there. He's like an attacking mid, isn't he? Center attacking mid.
He's played a lot of games like behind the strikers and stuff. But yeah, he's a fantasy football legend for this year. He's definitely an honourable mention though because he's played very well.
Yeah, well, I had him, and he actually wasn't playing that well for a lot of recent weeks up until the cancellation. He got dropped, but then he worked his way back into the team because he was playing well.
Yep.
So, okay, I'll allow it. But
He makes the bench, I guess.
yeah.
He's on the bench.
Him or Madison then, though? Probably Madison.
I think I've watched a lot of Leicester this year, and I think Madison's been disappointing. He's not in my team, but he was very close to being in it.
Okay.
He's not done a lot. All right, we'll move on to strikers. So, Adrian, if you want to run us through your front line.
So I've gone for 3 up front. On the left wing, I have Sadio Mane. On the right wing, I have Mohamed Salah. And up front, I have Aubameyang.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I was never really going to go for Firmino. I don't think he's been prolific enough. For me, it was down to Jamie Vardy, Danny Ings, and Aubameyang up front. And originally, I was going to go for Danny Ings, but that was again based on the kind of Jack Grealish thing I did, where he's like the most important player to them. Like without him, where would Southampton be? But I changed my mind because I kind of felt the same about Arsenal. I know Arsenal have been much better kind of since the turn of the year, but before that, he was really the only one doing anything for them. That was my perception of it anyway. He has 17 goals and only Vardy has scored more. And again, I think Vardy, at least for the whole season, has had a better functioning team around him. Just for the other two, I mean, Salah has 16 goals and Mane has 14 goals. So, they're both playing really, really well. So I don't think there's much argument there. Aubameyang was probably the only dark horse in there.
That's fair. I always find with Aubameyang, it's a strange one, is all I really hear and see is that he's playing out of position, he's kind of off form, there's the competition with Lacazette, and yet this is the second, it could be the third, it's definitely the second season in a row where he's either joint or top 2 goal scorers in the season.
Yeah,
I think is he overlooked?
Yeah, big time. I think he's underrated as a striker in the Premier League. I think if Kane and Rashford were still fit, people would be putting them in over him, probably because they're English. But in reality, I think he's. I don't know the numbers exactly, but he's definitely more prolific than Rashford and probably Kane since he's arrived. So. Don't think there's too much argument.
Finn, I'd say you're quite happy with that.
Yeah, well, because I had 4-4-2, my 2 strikers were Aubameyang and Aguero, which means no Mane. What a shock! Actually, looking back, I should have had Mane instead of Jack Grealish, but it's done now. So no Mane and Aguero, yeah, who has somehow is still underrated, in my opinion. I've always said Aguero's been the best player in the league since he joined, and I think he probably still is. In many ways, he's underrated, even by City fans. I think he's even better than De Bruyne, and I think De Bruyne is like footballing god.
You think he's underrated, Aguero?
Yeah, because he's been the best player of the decade in the Premier League, I think. But I think he's clearly been the best player of the decade, and a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but they'd be wrong. So
I would probably agree with that. I would never have thought he's underrated. I think he's probably seen as the second best goal scorer of maybe the third best goal scorer of the Premier League era. Maybe the fourth best now that I think of Henry and Rooney.
No,
And
I mean, he
Shearer.
wasn't even in your team.
No, because I don't think he's been as good as he has been in the last 10 years this year.
I think he's been playing less. He's getting old, but every time he does play, he's as good as he ever was, I think.
I think I'd love to have seen him without all the... Because he is injury prone now. I think we have to admit that. He does miss quite a few games over the years, but you could argue that Man City play like 50-odd games a season, so it's hard to compare him to Danny Ings, who is another sick note, but might only play a 38-game season. I wouldn't have had Aguero in my team. I think he's a great player, but I don't think this has been his year. I know he's up there, but I think that if you play up front for City, I think if you put Jesus up there too, he'd score nearly the same amount of goals.
Well, I think Jesus is pretty good as well.
Yeah. I remember we had that discussion a few podcasts ago. I hope I think he should get a move away rather than Aguero move on, which might happen. But we did your front line, Flynn, right? We did, of course. Sorry, what am I saying?
It's literally what we're talking about.
You think I'm listening?
You were in the middle of a sentence talking about it.
Yeah, I'm a listener. I listen back to this. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not part of it. I guess I'll give you my three because mine is firstly, like, Salah was definitely on the list to add to it, but when you have as good a season as he had, was it 2 seasons ago? Yeah, 2 seasons ago. It's really hard to live up to that standard again, and he definitely isn't this year. Maybe he's being played differently. Maybe Liverpool are a different team, but he didn't make the cut for me. Sadio Mane did. I think he's a given. I think he's having another great season. Consistent player for Liverpool. Jamie Vardy is another one for me. A little bit of fantasy bias because I picked him up at just the right time when really he should be on a decline. He really picked it up. That has done well this year, I think. Still has it in him. And it's all that espresso and Red Bull that just keeps him firing in the goals. My final pick is he's played 28 games for us. He scored 8 goals, scoring winners against United in Old Trafford, 2 last-minute winners against West Ham, and a goal against Arsenal. It's Jordan Ayew, striker of the season, team of the year.
Like, when you were talking, I was like, who the fuck is he talking about? A Crystal Palace player as a striker, team of the season.
Yep, absolutely. Like I said, 8 goals, 8 massive goals in Old Trafford.
Okay.
Come on, that's like double our next player. So,
right.
that's like 25 goals a year for Palace.
Okay.
Are Palace safe? Are Palace safe now?
I think every team is safe at this point, but if the season continues, we should be all right.
Yeah.
We did enough.
See, I'm going off this, like, how important are they to the team kind of structure, which is now starting to crumble because I'm looking, like, he's obviously very important to the team, but 8 goals so far this season, I don't know, could you put him in the team of the year when there's someone like Danny Ings, who's struggling against relegation, or was anyway, and has scored, I don't know, 14, 15, something like that, like nearly double.
Yeah, or top scorer in the league, Aubameyang.
Well,
No.
he's on 17.
Yeah, but
Vardy's on 19.
Have any of them scored back-to-back last-minute winners against West Ham? Have they?
Right.
No.
Maybe. I have no idea. Like, does that make you team of the year?
Team of the year.
Like
3 minutes of football. Team of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say that that's a shit pick. But, you know, it's your pick.
Outrageous.
Can we just run through each other's like team of the year just one more time? Because I just want to hear it out loud. So
Okay,
I had
go on.
Allison, Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Soyuncu, Robertson, Henderson, De Bruyne, Grealish, Mane, Aubameyang, and Salah. Pretty good fucking team, in fairness.
I had Leno, Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, Evans, Robertson, Henderson, De Bruyne, Salah, Grealish, Aubameyang, and Aguero.
Yeah,
Both lacking a bit of spark up front. Like the Ghanaian magician. So I had Dean Henderson.
Magician.
I had Dean Henderson, Soyuncu, Gary Cahill, Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson, Trent, KDB, Bruno Fernandes, Sadio Mane, Jamie Vardy, and Jordan Ayew. And there's no one that can tell me that Gary Cahill wouldn't have a lovely through ball to Bruno Fernandes, who would square it off for Jordan Ayew to score a 20-yard screamer.
yeah.
No one can tell me different.
Yeah. Yours was bad, to be fair.
Shocking.
I have to go back to my left back. I'm surprised no one chose Chilwell.
I don't think he's that good.
No, same.
No.
Same.
Okay.
I struggle to think
Sorry,
of
Dave.
good players that actually play in that position now, because there's been no real standouts. Usually you'd say, Marcus Alonso would have a good year, but he's struggled to find a place. Luke Shaw has hardly played for United or been injured too.
Yeah, he was the obvious one for me because Robertson has kind of not had as good a season as last year. So he wasn't the first one I thought of. I thought of Chilwell, and then when I saw the stats, it's Robertson. So
yeah, I think so. A couple of honourable mentions for myself. One we already mentioned, which was Danny Ings, and the second was Marcus Rashford. Obviously, he's injured now and wouldn't even come close to Jordan Ayew. But I think he was on course for a really good season. So I think he's worth a mention. I had a manager of the year picked. I think it's kind of obvious.
Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, I wish. It would be him every time, and you know it. Jurgen Klopp, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought you'd have gone for Wilder.
Nah.
I was going to say, what about that fella, the Sheffield United manager? And then I realised I can't even think of his fucking name, so I have no right to name him.
It is Wilder. Dean Wilder? No.
It is Chris Wilder.
Chris Wilder.
Chris Wilder, yeah.
I tried to think of the Premier League managers the other day. Man, I haven't paid attention to them in a long fucking time. Villa manager, no idea.
Yeah, Harry Redknapp is no longer in the league, which was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Sam Allardyce, Pardew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I struggled anyway, so never mind. But I felt better because I heard Damien Delaney talking on News Sport or one of those things on the radio, and he hadn't a clue either. So it's all right. And he's being paid for it. He's being paid to know it,
That's fair. Will we take a look at our disappointing team of the year?
Yeah.
I actually think that this one will be spicier. I think there's such a wide range of players. It was very hard to pick a formation, rather than having like 11 midfielders, because there's been a lot of absolute rubbish in the league this year, I think.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is tough because we didn't really set out guidelines. So there's some you might argue, but hopefully everyone will be able to justify their picks, I suppose.
I think so. We'll do the same format. Hanny, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if everyone doesn't have the same goalkeeper as me.
Okay.
It's David De Gea. Any time I've seen him, he's not been very good. He's had a few howlers, quite a few howlers. I know maybe it's because the quality of the United side isn't what it was years ago, but he used to be keeping them in matches, and now he's throwing them away. So, in terms of disappointing, he's been the most disappointing goalkeeper for me.
Yeah, he's been washed up for years.
Was he yours as well?
No.
Oh, wait, sorry. Go on, Kieran.
No, sorry, I fucked that up. I was going to say pretty much since the fax machine broke for his transfer to Madrid, he's just gone downhill.
Yeah, big time. Flynn, did you have him as well?
No, I picked Kepa Arrizabalaga.
Not bad.
Because,
Good one.
well, he's the world's most expensive keeper by a distance. Imagine a few years ago telling someone's going to pay, 70 million for a goalkeeper, and he's fucking shite. He got dropped. Frank Lampard dropped him because he was so bad. And this is even following on from last season with that Sarri stuff where he wouldn't come off the field, which was an embarrassment. And they can't get rid of him because no one's going to pay for him. And he's not good. He's not even that young. He's like, 26 or 25 or something? Anyway, look, it's a black hole of money. They can't even cut their losses. They can't get rid of him. Yeah, disaster of a goalkeeper. You couldn't have asked for a worse way to spend money. Like, shocking.
Yeah, that was a good shout.
Yeah, and I think for the first time we might have 3 entirely different picks. I have Hugo Lloris from Spurs.
He broke his arms.
Which, as a keeper, that's the one thing you're supposed to not fucking break.
Yeah, don't break your fucking arms.
But he did it while diving to stop a goal. Like, you have one job, and you broke your arm. But lots of errors. I think it was his error in the lead up to him breaking his arm, which, quick karma. But also lots of disappointing displays. Spurs in general, which you'll see from my 11, which is entirely the Spurs starting lineup. But yeah, Hugo Lloris has been really disappointing from someone who's a World Cup winner to where he is now. Pretty big fall.
Yeah. I think he's been unconvincing for a few years, to be honest. Yeah,
agreed. Do you want to run us through your backline, Hanley?
Sure. So at right back, I've gone for Kyle Walker, central defence, David Luiz, Vertonghen, and left back Emerson.
Okay, interesting.
Walker, I think a big reason for this is that I haven't been fantasy football and he does sweet fuck all. But I also remember that he lost his place earlier on in the season to your man Cancelo. Just hasn't really done much. I think he scored a cracking winner against Southampton or something. But other than that, anytime I see City, I haven't even noticed them. Maybe that's a good job. But yeah. Then David Luiz, I've just seen him fuck up too much. And I felt like, I mentioned this a few months ago at this stage, that he was, I felt, brought in to shore up the defence, and I've seen a lot of howlers from him. I know you defend him, but to me, he's been disappointing. Vertonghen, similar, he's been played out on the left or something, left back. He's supposed to be one of the kind of sure, years ago it was Alderweireld and Vertonghen were the set defenders for Tottenham, and they were rock solid Belgian pairing, and I think he's been either not played or played out of position. So that's been disappointing. And Emerson kind of started well, and I thought he had kind of made that left back spot his own in the Chelsea team, but and even I think played pretty well, but got knocked off. So maybe not his fault, but he's in my disappointing 11.
right?
I was about to jump to the defense of David Luiz and say, well, how can a player that costs nothing, that moved on a free transfer, be disappointing?
Well, he was like
You actually
6 or
paid money
7
for him,
million.
right? Yeah,
It
you
was
paid
like a
money for
small
him.
fee.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, but it kind of loses my argument, so I can't really defend that for you, Flynn.
And you were saying how bad the defense has been and how Leno has saved you so many times, and I think he was brought in with big expectations.
I think we all knew what we were getting with David Luiz, but he's actually been all right. Been the best of a bad bunch at the back.
But
Yeah,
I guess I couldn't put in Mustafi because we all know he's shit. So
the weird thing is, before the season got cut short, Mustafi had been playing great for a few weeks, but we'll never know, what might have been.
What if?
we have
Could
a
have
fair
been
idea.
Ballon d'Or.
Right.
Who have you got in defence, Flynn?
Okay, well, I had Cancelo as right back because he's the world's most expensive fullback now, is he? He's one of them.
One of them.
Same reason for Walker, except unlike Walker, he doesn't even play. So at least Walker plays. Cancelo is on the bench, 60 million, and he's supposed to be the top wing back in the world. He doesn't play. Anyway, I also said Vallejo. Do you guys even know who that is? Vallejo?
Not really, no.
Uh-oh.
He's like a Wolves centre back on loan from Real Madrid. He's shocking. Anyway, and I only put him in because he, a few years ago, he had a lot of hype as Sergio Ramos's apprentice or successor. We'll see how that works out for him. Not well, I imagine. I chose Harry Maguire as my centre back. I don't see it. I know not everyone. I know a lot of people think he's been great. I don't see it. I think he's been worse than bad. And he costs a lot of money. I'm not impressed. They should have spent money on any other centre-back in the league than Harry Maguire. That's all I have to say about Harry Maguire. And to prove I'm not biased, I chose Kieran Tierney as left-back. Because as a disappointing, because he's been injured the whole season pretty much. He's only played a few games. He looked fine. He looked really good, actually, in a few of those games. But I had very high hopes, and he's been in the injury ward for most of the season. So that's sad for me. But there you go.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had Kieran Tierney in my disappointing team too, because of that reason. I was actually quite hyped to see him. There's good things coming from Celtic about him.
I'm still hyped.
But it's weird. Like, he has a shoulder injury, right? Or something like that.
He dislocated shoulder repeatedly.
Like, just cut it off. You better off. Super strong.
Imagine jerking off so hard you dislocate your shoulder.
I mean, after this weeks in isolation, I mean, it might have to come to that for a bit of excitement, to be honest.
Oh my God. And your hand is just stuck, clasped around it then. You have to go to the doctors.
Lord have mercy.
Have to get a wrench.
Grease him up.
Just on the Maguire thing, I actually was really torn with Maguire. He nearly made my best 11 and my worst 11. I don't know what I was thinking, nearly putting him into my best. I think he's been okay. I don't think he's been shambolic, but I don't think he's turned around the defense as they thought. And I nearly put him into my disappointing because of the amount of money they spent and how they probably thought they were going to get a Van Dijk. I mean, Man City nearly bought him, so he's not a shit player, right? But for
same thing happened with Fred.
Fred's turned out to be okay. Well, let's save that.
Okay.
I have a feeling I have one of your picks in midfield. But
no, I actually didn't even pick him.
Right.
But I do think he's shit.
Yeah, he is a bit shit. I don't know. I just think I left Maguire out for because I don't think he's been as bad as others. That's all.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one with Maguire. I know we spoke about this before you joined us, Finn, but it's difficult because United's defense has gotten better, coincidentally, as he signed, but it couldn't have really got much worse without them, spiraling even further. I think he's a good player, but I don't know. Yeah, I think for the cost, I think it's a bit disappointing. Didn't make my team, but definitely on the list.
I'd have David
honorable
Luiz
mentions.
ahead of him any day of the week.
I could just see like Dave listening to this and just being furious.
Well, on Dave's behalf, I will say that I would not have David Luiz over Maguire in the Liverpool defence, given the option.
It's all right. You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah, that's good, healthy debate. That's all this is.
That's all this is.
Oh,
With my team, I have a 3-5-2 formation because I was scratching my head trying to find an extra defender. Kieran Tierney's one I mentioned. Luca Digne is another. He was very exciting, very attacking, scored some great goals, great free kicks, and seemed to just peter off this year. So, bit of a letdown, as have Everton been, really. I know they picked it up, in the past few games when we were playing, but he hasn't been the standout performer like he was. My other defender is one that you mentioned already, Kyle Walker. As much as I love his love of hookers, I don't love his love of breaking the stay-at-home rules. So he gets a mention in there too.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, he's meant to be one of the senior English players, and he's off fucking having parties. What an asshole.
Yeah, and I think they all are doing it. I think it's just that Grealish and Walker have got caught.
I don't agree with that.
Well,
Jordan Henderson will be next.
He will not.
Nope, he's had his cup of warm milk. He's tucked up. Don't worry.
He'll be knighted at the end of this. Sir Jordan Henderson.
How can you knight someone called Jordan? Dr. Henderson.
Honorable
For
Dr.
services
Henderson.
to bottling. For outstanding achievement in the field of bottling.
Is it my go for midfield?
Yeah, you want to change the subject, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've gone for a 3-man midfield. We mentioned him already in Ndombele. No injuries that I know of anyway, no big ones. He's just been shite. Jamie Carragher did a whole segment on just his performance. I forget who it was against. He just looks miserable. Paul Pogba, maybe a little unfair because he's been injured, but I mean, he looks miserable as well. He looks like he doesn't want to be there. I'm not even sure how much I believe he's all that injured. And I went for Fabinho.
Wow.
Because I can be unbiased as well. He was playing okay at the start of the season, got injured, missed quite a lot, and since he's come back, he doesn't look anywhere near what he was, and it's been kind of disappointing. Jordan Henderson looks better as that kind of holding midfield role than Fabinho, which is nuts because he was so good last season. That's not big enough, Jordan Henderson. That's telling you.
Yeah, you only put Fabinho in so you could big up Jordan Henderson.
Every fucking player is compared to Jordan Henderson at this point.
Yeah, that's true. I won't mention them again. No, but honestly, he's just looked off it, and for a month, it was kind of he's finding his rhythm, but he's been back since January. He had a good run of games and hasn't looked up to it, so disappointing.
Okay,
Not bad.
I picked for my midfield Ravel Morrison. Did you guys remember he's in the league?
Yeah,
no.
Sheffield United, right?
Sheffield United. I think he played one game.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I'm picking him more based on his whole career than on this one game he's played.
That's cool too.
They took a punt on him. stupidly. He's living off the hype he had when he was 17 or 18 at United when Ferguson was still manager. And Ferguson, wasn't it? Ferguson got rid of him, didn't he? Yeah.
I believe so, because of his antics.
Yeah. And I don't know what people see in him. It's been like 10 years and he's done sweet fuck all. So I'll pick him just because he's overrated in general. I also had Ndombele. I agree. He's not injured. He's just fat or unfit or doesn't want to play. It's bizarre. You'd never see a footballer behaving like this who just isn't bothered week after week. I mean, you'd see it sometimes, people angling for a move or they're fed up at the club, but he just signed for them. Like, he just signed for them. Like, and he's like, what, their record signing, is he? He was supposed to be like their prized asset. And from game one, he's just been like, I fucking hate playing for Spurs. So, don't know what story is there. And I also picked Danny Drinkwater. Know him?
Very good. Very good.
Possibly the most overpriced player in Premier League history. I mean, you think of all the other big money flops. They had something going for them. You know, like Shevchenko or someone. At least they had something. You understood it. Danny Drinkwater. Well, his name is Danny Drinkwater. But apart from that, I have no idea how this guy even makes a living as a footballer. He doesn't. He doesn't make a living as a footballer because he doesn't play. Fair play to him, though. I think he's an embarrassment. But that's...
Did him and Kante move together, or were they a season apart?
I think they were a season apart.
And it was for like 30 million he left for, was it?
He cost more than Kante, yeah.
God. Mad. And there's a lot with Danny Drinkwater now where didn't he get done for drink driving? He got in a punch up as well in a club. So
yeah, that's what he does. That's in his spare time when he's not playing football. He's getting into fights in nightclubs. So, whatever.
Not the greatest of signings.
Nope.
Or not the greatest of players from the Leicester title-winning side either.
Yeah. That's my midfield.
Oh, very good. Very good. With mine, I'll mention them quick because we already have Ndombele. Yeah. There's a really good video. I think Sky Sports did it, which I shouldn't really plug. But it's just a compilation of him getting the ball and just passing backwards and just jogging the opposite way. Really not bothered. To captain my midfield, Jordan Henderson. No, not really. Not really.
Fucking, I wasn't biting.
I have Paul Pogba, just because he hasn't featured much. I think it kind of goes without saying, and we've commented enough on our thoughts on Paul Pogba. Another Spurs midfielder, Dele Alli. I feel he's been inconsistent this year. I know not Liverpool. I know Spurs are playing, I guess, differently under Mourinho, but he's been off the boil. A lot of the Spurs players could have made this list as well, really.
Yep.
I think on one of the wings, then Pepe. I know you're going to disagree, Flynn, but for that price tag, he just isn't. I'm not saying he's a bad player. It might pay off in the end, but he just hasn't done it for the returns he's given so far.
Fine. I'll accept it just for the price. I keep saying I wasn't happy with the price either, but we'll leave it there.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And just so you know, I have him in my fantasy football team, the draft league we have. I benched him for that amazing game he had against, was it Newcastle, where he got like 20 points.
Oh, yeah.
That was great. The other wing player I have is probably a bit risky, but Raheem Sterling, I've not really been impressed by him this year.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe there's too much for him to live up to. I'm not saying he's been bad. He's just not leading, like he's not leading a club like perhaps he should, or perhaps we're led to believe he is.
He's definitely been disappointing. Yeah. Compared to last season.
He came to mind for me for this as well, because not because he's been as bad as other players, but because he's been massively disappointing. I mean, I think Flynn, you had him in fantasy football, and has he scored this calendar year? I don't know that he has.
I can't remember.
Yeah, or he had a long run not scoring.
No, he started the season really well. Like, he has 11 goals, but a lot of them were, where he'd get like a double on the first. I think he scored 2 goals the first game of the season and stuff. So, yeah, not been great.
Yeah. And who did you say before him?
Pepe, Pogba,
Oh yeah,
Dele Alli, and then Dombele.
Dele Alli. Oh yeah. Again, like he had a bit of a patch there under Mourinho, but that's kind of over, isn't it?
Kind
A
of.
false dawn.
Yeah, basically.
Our last position to review would be the strikers. So, Adrian, do you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. So I've gone for 3 up front. The first is Joe Linton for Newcastle. He signed, I think he was hotly anticipated, and he scored 1 goal in 29 games. So I think that's a fair shout. The next is Haller. He's actually scored 7 goals. 7 goals in 26 games, but he scored 24 in 60 for Frankfurt last season. So, again, very disappointing, I think. And the last one is Pepe.
Blindsiding me with this.
Yeah. Again, he scored 4 goals in 24 games, but that's coming off the back of scoring 35 last season for Lille.
He's got more than 4 goals.
My stats say 4 goals.
All right.
Maybe it's 4 Premier League goals.
It must be.
Yeah, that's still not very good.
Europa League doesn't count either.
Yeah, so
good lump of assists.
4 and 20. Look, he's scoring a goal every 6 games, according to this, whereas he was scoring like nearly 1 and 2 last season for Lille. Just disappointing. And again, for the money, I know you don't agree with the money, but
well, he'll prove everyone wrong when play resumes.
Well, we're just talking about the season so far, so that's my pick.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, well, my strikers were also Joe Linton, Haller, and Moise Keane.
Yes.
Yeah, so what you said about Joe Linton and Haller, Joe Linton is impressively shit. Like, I think he's just a big lump, completely useless.
And he was 40 million, I think.
Yeah, for a team battling relegation. Brilliant. Fucking outstanding job. Haller, I was very high on Haller. I thought he was going to be a great signing. He hasn't been. It's the West Ham. They just have a natural talent for making good players shit players. And Keane, he's another big prospect. Thought he was going to be the next big thing at Juventus, and he's been shit. So, I mean, he's still got time. He's very young, but he's not been good at all. And he costs a lot of money. And Everton instead are now relying on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is in no great shakes himself. So that tells you all you need to know about Keane.
Your man Keane said he hoped to score 7 goals this season.
You know, at least he's honest.
What a bizarre number. Like, what a bizarre claim. Like, not just, I'm going to do my best, but like, 7 goals would be great.
Well, sure. It was enough to get you team this season from some people.
Yeah. Well, there was a bit of head scratching when Everton signed him, albeit on loan. And you're wondering why, like Flynn said, that he was a top prospect. And you wonder why they'd let him go. Maybe for experience, but I think now we know why. And it is because he's not a good player and Duncan Ferguson despises him. So there's that.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
He got subbed on and subbed off.
Like, that is the ultimate, degrading act as a player, right? And
it wasn't because of, a sending off or anything, was it?
Duncan Ferguson probably told him, get off the bench, go headbutt someone. And he didn't do that, so he pulled him straight back off. But yeah, not great. Not great to happen. I think he only played 16 minutes or something. Not good.
Lot.
Not good. I think one of the honourable mentions for me was any Newcastle attacking player because they've just been so dismal. But my two strikers, first one is Shea Adams for Southampton,
Okay.
signed for 16 million euros. He's only young. There's plenty of time. But 16 million euros signing, 22 appearances, hasn't scored a single goal for Southampton yet. You know, just very poor. Just very poor. The other one would be Callum Wilson from Bournemouth. Like, he was on the verge of being in the England squad. He was in the England squad.
Yeah.
He's been booked more times than he scored this season.
Wow.
And I think that says enough. 9
Good
versus
stat.
8. Yep, 9 versus 8. So, very poor.
Hang on, he scored 8 goals.
Scored 8, booked 9 times.
Okay. Never
To-
mind.
To follow up on your point, Jordan Ayew has only been booked 3 times.
Right.
And Jordan
Okay.
Ayew isn't English, so different rules.
All right.
Before we wrap things up, a couple of honourable mentions that I think we missed. Adrian, keeper for Liverpool.
Roberto, keeper for West Ham.
Yes, been poor. Giovanni Celso.
He's been all right. I wouldn't say he's worse. He's not been great, but
Yeah, he's been disappointing. I won't say Adrian's been disappointing. I just wanna say that, you know, outside of the Premier League, he's been disappointing. But in the Premier League, he stepped up when we didn't think he'd need to. But anyway, that's your opinion.
That's fair. Ryan Sessegnon.
yeah,
Big time. Good. Yeah, good shout.
Last one then is Danny Welbeck for Watford.
I'm
Can't
sure
even-
we knew what he was
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah, he can't stay fit, so I don't know how. I don't think anyone had high hopes for him.
No.
But yeah, the last point is for me. I had like a disappointing manager of the year, Eddie Howe. That's my shout.
Not who was the Arsenal cunt again? What was his name?
Emery.
Emery.
Yeah, not Emery.
Well, I think if you apply it that if Bruno Fernandes can't make it into the team of the year on limited appearances, then Emery only had limited.
But he was only limited because he was so bad he got fired.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a difficult one, but yeah, definitely Howe has looks like he's lost his way a little bit.
I just think they're at their level, really. They can't hope for much more than what they are, which is a Premier League team. They shouldn't by rights even be that. They're a tiny, tiny team who have never been anywhere near this level, have they? I don't think they've been. No, they've never been in the Premier League before. How?
No, he took
So,
it from the basement.
I mean, it's a miracle they've been around as long as they have.
It's true. Well, that was our team of the year and our disappointing team of the year. I hope it brings you some bit of enjoyment in all the isolation business and takes your mind off, I guess, a morbid period. You've been listening to the Put 'em Under Pressure podcast. To keep up to date with all of our content, give us a follow on Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. Outro music. Boom.
That was good.
That was good, right?
Yeah.
We'll prepare and we'll go and we'll do our best. We'll put them under pressure.